Good morning again. Thank you very much for taking part in the first edition of Social Business Creation Competition. This is an exciting adventure that we really hope that you will be able to create great companies that create positive social impact to the society. And with us today, we have Professor Federico Passin, the Secretary General and Director of International Activities of HEC Montreal. And we have Professor Luciano Bazin-Cruz, Associate Professor of the Department of Management at HEC Montreal, so who has been with you since the beginning, since when we sent you the invitation letter to participate in this event. And we have Marianne Masson, Educational Coordinator of the Entrepreneurship Institute of Banque Nationale in HEC Montreal. She will be responsible for the training week in Montreal that you will have in September. And she's also responsible for the online model on business model. And we also have Fanny Couture. She's been developing the crowdfunding module, the course that you've been taking. And myself, Associate Professor at the Department of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. So today, the first part of the conference, we will respond to your questions related to the organization of the competition and as well as the rules and the activities that are coming, as well as the contents of the online courses. And at 11 o'clock, Professor Yunus and his staff will come and discuss with you and respond to your questions related to social business creation and then critical success factors. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Professor Federico Passin to speak with you for a few minutes.
Thank you, Mai. In fact, would be a few seconds. Well, HEC Montreal is really proud to receive this competition and to have some people from the school to think and organize this important competition. Social business and entrepreneurship are at the core of what we do. And so it's really natural for us to hold such a competition. So I hope that you have a very nice experience, fulfilling experience, that you learn a lot, you interact with a lot of people everywhere. So good luck and have a very nice day. Thank you.
So as promised, so we will respond to your questions sent in advance first, and then we will interact with you through the chat window. So the first question we received is, can you provide some basic criteria on how to be successful within this competition and some key factors to consider when going through the rounds? So I'd like to bring you to our website on the criteria of the competition. So you go to socialbusinesscreation.hec.ca. And then you enter the tab competition, and then you will see judging criteria. So you are here in this round taking the online course. That means you have passed the admission. So we received a great number of projects, proposals. So you are among the 40 projects that are admitted to round one. So to be successful in this round, you need to have together very strong social support. And then in the round two, of course, if you can not gather any kind of social support, you cannot make it to round two. So in order to get to round two, you have to show that your business and your team can indeed mobilize social support. I will respond to your questions about social support in a few minutes. And in round two, and you see the criteria here, we're just your projects by its originality, its product or service feasibility, its commercial potentials, and then the performance of your crowdfunding and crowdsourcing campaign. And then, if you have successfully completed the 2 rounds, you are eligible to go to Montreal for the training week. That will be from September 5th to September 10th. So during this week, most of the training will happen from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And during the day, you will have the opportunity to visit social enterprises, and then you can follow your own agenda. So from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., so you will have various training sessions on different topics related to social business creation, and also on how to make the best pitch and presentations that you will do on the final presentation day on the 12th of September. And then, as this competition is meant to guide you and coach you until the actual creation of the business, and we really hope to see that the actual business is created within a year. So that means next September, we really want to see that you actually launch your business by then. And the next question is, how do you access the module completion since we do not have any evaluation? As we promised to you at the beginning, we do not evaluate your performance on the online courses. So look at the online courses as the supporting tool. We are here to guide you and help you when needed. So you are evaluated by your actual performance toward the business creation, not just by memorizing or reading the contents of the online courses. And of course, at the end of the online courses, we want to have your feedback, see how you go. But feel free, and actually we encourage you to use the discussion forum to pose questions. So we provide you with the material to help you how to create businesses, and as you work on the field, if you have any kind of questions, or if you have any kind of issues, if you need help, whatever, then post it on the discussion forum. We are there to answer questions and to guide you. And the next question, how to record the proof from the social media. Well, you need to print the report. So here is an example of any business. So here you will have the number of likes and who like you. It's here. Here is an example. You can create your Facebook or Twitter and so on. But then the social support, you can also do it on the many petition platforms such as change.org. When you start your competition, and here I just give you a simulated one as an example. So here you start a petition, and then you can enter here the information about your company and so on. And then you will see who will vote you, and then the kind of feedback, because people can certainly give you comments or suggestions on how to do better. And then you will need to go to the dashboard, and then you will be able to download here. So who support your petition, who support your ideas. And I would say it depends on the local context. Maybe you can run online platform, but maybe you have to go and speak directly to people. And that's why we accept as evidence of your social support, and you see here. So it could be hand signature or e-signature. It can be audio, video record of endorsement. It can be your social media performance. It can be a report from petition platforms or any others that you can show to us. This is the kind of your social support. And then the next questions we have is about, so what kind of support do you need? So that's why it's very important that you do your stakeholder analysis. And we already provide you with the Excel form here that you have to show us who are your stakeholders. You know that the primary stakeholders, secondary stakeholders, and so on. And we want to see where do you get the support. So do you only get support from your buyers, or you get support from your people of the community? And we see that if you only have support from one kind of stakeholder, there might be something you have to work on. Because a successful business, you need to have good support from important stakeholders. So here we give you the form that guides you. You have to explain the role of the individual or organizations, and then the value propositions you have to them, and the reason why the stakeholders support you, etc. So this form is what you have to do at the beginning. And then you also have to submit to us. And this will allow us to better understand your business, and then to understand the strengths of social support that you have. So imagine that government is the most important influential stakeholder in your business, and you have none of the government support, then there is something wrong with the business model. You need to adapt. And then that's also related to the next questions. It's just one big proof is enough? The answer is no. You need to have support from your various stakeholders. And then your question is, how many projects will be admitted to round 2? For here, we do not limit the number of projects to be admitted to round 2. The only criteria here that you have to show us this evidence of social support. If you cannot gather any social support, then you cannot be admitted to round 2. So, but then some evidence of support, whatever how big or how small, it already gives something, because there are still work to be done afterward. And then the question is, how do you benchmark yourself with others? So that's why we have a list of competing projects here. So you know who are your quote-unquote competitors. So by the end of this week, we will give you an account, so that when you when you click on the link here, that will be activated by the end of this week, that you will be able to manage your own page on our platform. On this page, you can present your project in whichever way you want. And of course, then your competitors will, as well as your other supporters, will be able to see you. So look at it as a portal from which people can connect to your social media platform, etc. And the reason why we do not activate them, the links yet, is that because we really want you to at least have taken the time to follow the online courses. You know that if you look at the innovation diffusion theories, your best supporters, you need to get them excited, and you need to present something that's workable. So we don't want you to burn the support by presenting something not good enough. So you need to have a minimum viable product before you present to get social support. So now, as you have had 4 weeks following the online courses, now we hope that you are able to better state your missions, your vision, and you have been able to really develop a primary model for your business. And that will be, next Monday will be the time when you start serious campaign to get support from various people. And we'll give you the account where you can manage your page right here. And then the question about whether your business is vision-oriented or crisis-oriented, that is explained in Module 1 about social business. So vision-oriented businesses are those that are initiated by the entrepreneurs, so just like you. So you believe that something needs to be done. And then you create that vision, and you gather people to believe in your vision and support you and go through with you in this mission. Whereas crisis-oriented businesses are created because of explicit request from somebody or some community, etc. And then you respond to that need. So in other words, vision-oriented businesses started from you, something you believe that you should do, and then convince people that is something that they should do too. Whereas crisis-oriented is that initiated by others, and you as a business people, you respond to the request. And then now we have questions related to funding and crowdsourcing. So I will have Fanny, who is one of the people responsible for this model, to respond to the questions. Fanny, please.
Should I go there? Yeah, okay. Good morning, everyone. So I had 3 questions concerning crowdfunding. The first one was, is crowdfunding essential to creating a successful business model? If not, a successful social business? The short answer is no, because you need to have a business model in order to have a crowdfunding campaign. Like any other sort of financing sources, crowdfunding needs to have to rest on a solid business model. So it is not a tool to create your business model. However, there are many other financial approaches that you can use throughout your financial research, but crowdfunding is one of these tools. So that would be my first answer for that question. If you want to know the pros and cons of crowdfunding as a financial approach, you can look at the SWOT that is available in section 3 of module 4 of the crowdfunding. The second question was, how does crowdfunding play a role when you target market for your social entrepreneurship? How does crowdfunding play a role when your target market for your social entrepreneurship is in a third world country and you are based in the United States? This is actually a tricky situation for crowdfunding because you have to clearly identify who are your potential bakers. Are they in the United States or are they in the third world countries? Studies have showed that bakers that tend to support causes that are close geographically to their area. So in order to fight this, so in order to raise awareness and to get support from, let's say, in the USA for your third world country project, you would need to really have a solid storytelling video or video content and also the wording that you use so that you can raise awareness in the US and people will really feel connected to your cause. The other question is quite similar. When crowdfunding in developed country for a product that is meant to resolve a specific problem in a third world country, how can one eliminate the knowledge of this issue? This has been addressed in the module 4. If you look at the cultural capital that you can gain through crowdfunding, it is basically the same answer as the last one. There are several tools that you can use. The most powerful one you can use in crowdfunding is your video. Try to have a really solid video where you explain who you are, what you need, why you need it, and how you're planning to use the money the bakers are going to give you. For tips, you can use product-oriented crowdfunding projects that are actually proposing new prototypes because they have to explain from the get-go what they're trying to sell. It's basically the same thing, but with a social cause, so you have to raise awareness through your video, explain what you're aiming at so that you can get people to get involved in your campaign. Again, in this case, you have to be aware of the geographical component of crowdfunding. Make sure that people feel connected to your cause. Yeah, so that's about it. Thank you, everyone.
And then the next part, I would like to invite Luciano to talk a little bit about the module on sustainable development. We are pretty surprised that we'd received no question regarding this matter, but that's why I need Luciano to explain to you why it is so very important to think about the big picture.
Thank you, Mai, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. So yes, as Mai just said, it was surprising for us to see that we didn't have any question related to sustainable development, but at the same time, we see that it's eventually related to the fact that when we talk about sustainable development, actually we are in this more macro level in which all the other topics that we have here in this competition, they are inside or they are related to. So it's normal that that when we talk about social business, crowdfunding, and other topics that we are discussing here, that we understand that all those topics, they have an impact or an eventual impact on the broad discussion of sustainable development. Maybe I want to just address this topic of sustainable development and give you some insights on that and how it could be related to your reflection by saying that, yes, of course, when we talk sustainable development, we are on these macro social issues that are very important in our societies. And of course, it changes depending on the society in which we are. So we have competitors from several countries. And of course, in each of those societies in which you are living or aiming to develop your projects, we have different social issues. And of course, it's up to you to see those that are the most important and then to try to tackle those issues based on the social business proposition you have. What I would say is that keep in mind that for any social business that you are going to have, actually you're going to have an impact in society, and actually you need to think about how we can share value with society and share social value with society. So when you look at the content we have for this sustainable development module, you're going to see that we insist a lot on this relation with stakeholders, and we insist a lot on the idea of creating shared value and creating social value. So doing your reflection, really try to think in terms of the kind of impact or the kind of performance, if you wish to use a more business word, your social business can have or can provide for different stakeholders. So this, I think, is the main idea. When you're trying to evaluate impact, think about, of course, your organization and the kind of impacts that it's going to generate, but also try to map all the different stakeholders that will be affected and which kind of impacts your social business will generate for them. A nice way eventually to frame all of that and to connect you with a more broad discussion on sustainable development is to go to the United Nations website and take a look at what they call now the Sustainable Development Objectives. Actually, those objectives, they are replacing the previous Millennium Objectives, which were objectives related to the ambition to reduce poverty all around the world. So all these Millennium Goals, they've been around since the 2000s. And from 2016, actually, they turned into these more broad Sustainable Development Objectives. And there you can find some guidelines, or some main topics to which you can relate your social business and see to which extent your social business can have an impact on these different sustainable development objectives. So it could be a nice way to connect your local social business to more broad discussions that we've been having at the level of the United Nations, and eventually even to later steps of the development of your social business when you're going to try to find some funding and try to have more partners and more sponsors, eventually connecting with those more broad and recognized objectives could be a nice way of framing your social business and really showing that you're contributing to improve conditions in society in general. So yeah, this is my main message. I'm going to be here with you for the next minutes, and if you have specific questions related to this broad topic of sustainable development, please feel free to ask.
And then we also receive a lot of questions through our chat window. We certainly will respond to them. But we put priority on the questions we received in advance. And so now the next questions are really related to business model, about the product or the people and so on. So then I'd like to invite Marianne to respond to you questions about business model and then how you present your business concept for the round 2.
Hello everyone, welcome to this competition. So I saw a few questions about business model, and there was one which was raised a bit before, like the business model is really important, and in social context, you have to consider that the business model tool, you can see in section 3, in the module 3, sorry, that it's going to help you to consider all the stakeholders who are just like around your business model. So just some people have how to present their model. You have to consider that the business model canvas, which is presented, and the value proposition canvas too, are just tools to help you just like define and build your business model, to just clarify and validate some hypotheses too. So you can use this tool for that. You can present it for the jury to understand the business model, but you can do a storytelling too, because actually this tool, the main objective is to show that your project is both like desirable, viable, and feasible. So this is like your main challenge about pitching your project, actually. And this has, like, the desirability has to be social, too. So that's, like, the step further you have to show when it's about, like, social issues. So the business model is going to help you to transform your MVP or prototype into a really business concept. So this is going to be important because you're going to have to, at the end, pitch how you're gonna, like, what you're gonna do, what you're gonna deliver, sorry, how you're gonna make it. So it's kind of the left part of the business model canvas, and how you're gonna make money for that. Because, like, it's social business, but you can can make money about it, and it's gonna be maybe another influence, which is gonna be, like, really important for the society. So that's pretty it. If there are any further questions, just like don't hesitate to put it on the chat. Thank you.
So now the questions. So in terms of products versus people, where should the core focus be in improving first and given a new social venture? And you know that through the MOOCs that we explained to you, the social venture is, what's important is what is intended to do, what kind of impact is one to create. So now please look at the model here, the social business, and you look at characteristics of social venture. So first, it has to create social value. It has to create changes. And you know that, well, if you look at the objectives here, social versus profit objectives, social businesses have both. And here, if you look at conventional business versus a social business, and you see in the equation, social profit equation here, and together with the economic profits equation. So then the question is, now, how about products? So do your products define your business or not? Well, for social business, the first is that what is your mission? What do you intend to do to what kind of impact you want to create to the society that defined your business, whether it is social business or not. You know that as the market will change, products may change. The specific products may change, but then your vision, your mission will stay there. So then our advice is first, define clearly your vision, define clearly your mission, and then you create the firms, and then all your activities, the products and other business activities will be geared toward achieving the missions. And even when we talk about the forms of ventures, that there can be many forms. It may be cooperative or mutual, or it can be social firm, it can be even a development trust, or it can be community interest company, or charity, and many. You know that the legal forms do not constitute the most important factor to define whether you are social business or not. So the legal forms, it depends on your local context. I can give an example of Vietnam. When I created my own social business about 15 years ago, well, the word not-for-profit did not even exist, you know. So we could not even register as a not-for-profit organization. So we had to register as a regular business. But what we did at that time was really geared toward charity sort of thing at that time. But then because of the context, we could not create a charity or not-for-profit organizations. So the legal forms really depend on your local context. And then so you have to choose the right legal forms for your business depending on your local context. What defines you as a social business is that you have in mind both objectives. You have social objectives and you have profit, business, economic objectives. If you're geared toward only the social objectives, it may not be sufficient. And so if you create a business that depends 100% on donations, you might not be a social business. If you create a business that do serve the businesses that do serve the society, and the businesses have economic profits, so serve people and make money at the same time, that will make you a social business. And then the question about the charitable tax breaks and so on, Professor Yunus will be able to give you a good advice on that. So that will be in about half an hour. And I have to repeat the answer to the question about crowdfunding versus business model. So the question you have here is crowdfunding essential to creating a successful business model? Our answer is actually the opposite. You need to have a very good business model in order to have successful crowdfunding campaign. So if you cannot convince people that you have a good business model, how can they put their money into your business? And then the next questions we have about a project. So say my social business proposal has been a social project for 5 years without financial aid. During these years, a lot of volunteers have been involved in the project works with only donations in kind. However, it is totally understandable to transform this project into a social business in order to make it sustainable. Now, what advice would you give to make this transition without the volunteers' misunderstanding regarding the financial point? So, well, again, it's a question of mission statement, and communication is the key. And you have here in our model here that look at your entrepreneurial, social entrepreneurial process. Again, the mission statement is very important. So if people believe in your missions, and then you can explain clearly the tools, how to achieve your missions, I don't think your volunteers will have any issues. And also Professor Yunus will be able to give you concrete examples on how he manages volunteers versus the other stakeholders. And you see the first step here is mission statement, and then you capture opportunities. And you know that you may have new opportunities as you develop your venture, and then you have to engage in social innovation, and that's how you develop your business model. And then you will get the outcome. As I say, the outcomes here have to be measured by both social outcome and economic outcomes. And if you look at sustainable development model, and here you have to build an organizational structure that is geared toward sustainability. So I invite you to watch the videos here and study the material in details. And feel free to post the question. You know, always click on this blue button, and then we can answer you more specifically. And feel free to give us details about your business. And you can always send us your information by here. And you can do it as many times as you can. So the template here, you can do it online by clicking here. Or you can fill in the PDF version and email it to us. And then as we understand your business here better, then we'll be able to respond. And make sure you write the name of your business, otherwise we will not be able to identify who you are. So actually we received 2 submission from this template, but we cannot identify you, so we could not answer you directly because you didn't write the name of your business. So if you don't have the concrete name yet, just stick to the name of the business that you submit to us with your proposal. And then the next question we just received here is about the social support. So here the question is about someone states here that can anybody be stakeholder? And we have to repeat that it's you to do the analysis of who your stakeholders are. So please go to the template site, and then here you see that you can identify many, many stakeholders here. And you have to write the name of the person or the organizations you want to target. And then try to understand what kind of role that stakeholder plays in your business. Maybe a resource provider, maybe a regulator, or maybe a competitor, and so on. And then what are the interests and concerns of these very stakeholders? You know, answering these questions will be very useful in helping you designing communication strategies for each and every stakeholders. And you may not have the same strategies for every stakeholders because of differences in their interests and concerns. You want to create music in their ears. So really understand what kind of value you propose to them and why they should support you. So you cannot just create just a Facebook campaign and say, I get many, many likes on my business and that's enough. No, it's who support you that's important. And again, so who will be on your Facebook, you should be able to understand it. So maybe, now imagine that if the government, is Facebook the best tool? Yes or no, that you have to understand your local context. So again, I invite you really to analyze your stakeholders, and if you need help, go to the module here. As we explained to you that we have here in your, if you go to module 2, sustainable development, and you have one session, building relationship with stakeholders and share values. Here you have specific guide on what to do with each one of them. And then you also see in module 1 in the session, the social entrepreneurship ecosystem. So again, you have to understand your ecosystem, the role you play in this ecosystem, and then the interaction you have with each and every element in your ecosystem. You want to have the best fit in the ecosystem. And I also invite you to look at the module 3 business model. You know that we guide you. So first, we teach you how to design a business model, and then we teach you the effectuation process and how to draft your value proposition. And now you see that we also give you model on design thinking, because you have a plan for the kind of social impact you create, then you have to design the business geared toward that mission. And then I really invite you to look at the session system thinking. And the system thinking here will explain to you what you do, whatever you do will create externalities to the environment. And then you have to evaluate whether you create positive externalities or negative externalities. And if, for whatever reason, you create some negative externalities, you have to think of how to solve that. Two, don't wait until someone else to solve it. Don't think it is government job to solve your bad externalities. So be a responsible business. Think about the system. And now the next question about the crowdfunding. So you run your crowdfunding in developed countries, and where your project is in developing countries. In a few minutes, Professor Yunus will be able to give you some tips too, because he has various programs in developing and developed countries. And, but again, what we want you to look at is what is your value proposition. you have to make it relevant to your stakeholders, be it stakeholders in developed countries or be it stakeholder in developing countries where you create your projects. And on our model, we also give you the list of platforms. So the sites, here, a lot of countries. Here you have even